And welcome to the NFL Mocks podcast. George Stockberger here, and wow, what a crazy night tonight in Chicago. So many things happened, and we're going to get down and talk about all of them. Obviously, the big story was Laremy Tunsil, offensive tackle from Ole Miss. We thought he might be the first overall pick, but then all of a sudden, he starts sliding and sliding, all because of a couple pictures of him that ended up on Twitter, him using marijuana, something that teams sort of knew about, but when you have a picture to put to the situation, that really turns your situation around, and he kept sliding and sliding and sliding. So Laremy Tunsil, he ends up all the way down to the Miami Dolphins. They get a steal in Laremy Tunsil after trading down with the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Miami Dolphins, a team that you look, and Ryan Tannehill got sacked a lot. He's been sacked 20 more times than any other quarterback since he's gotten into the league. And getting a guy who was supposed to be the first overall pick in Laremy Tunsil, that was a crazy, crazy moment that we saw at the draft. Nothing that we've ever seen before. And another situation, which was maybe not as surprising, but Myles Jack, a linebacker from UCLA, completely falling out of the first round as teams are worried about his knee injury. Rumors that he might need microfracture surgery to repair his knee, I should say. So Myles Jack, a guy who would have been a top 5 pick, a really good athlete, won offense and defensive freshman of the year at UCLA. Him falling out of the first round was something that I don't think anyone could have predicted. So the big stories tonight are Laremy Tunsil and what happened with Myles Jack. But we're going to go through and break down every single pick, all 31 picks tonight. Some really good, some pretty bad. So first start out, Jared Goff, the pick that we all assumed came true. He goes the Los Angeles Rams, the next franchise quarterback. California kid, I think it's a decent pick. He's not my favorite quarterback in this class, but obviously Los Angeles needed to make a splash, and they go with a hometown kid. After that, Carson Wentz, North Dakota State, goes to Philadelphia, who also traded up. This is a guy that the team obviously fell in love with, and the media around here was insane with Carson Wentz. They're calling up old high school coaches, some of his former receivers, trying to learn as much about the guy because, coming out of North Dakota State, there's not much tape that people can watch on a regular basis like Alabama or Ole Miss or Ohio State. So there wasn't a lot of information on Carson Wentz. And also in Philadelphia, Sam Bradford is still wearing midnight green, or at least he's supposed to be. Eagles have said they're not going to trade him. They want him to be the bridge guy and let Wentz develop under him for a little bit, just as now current head coach Doug Peterson did for Donovan McNabb when he was drafted out of Syracuse. So the quarterbacks go 1-2, and then the San Diego Chargers, they stay in place, and they go with Joey Bosa, the defensive lineman out of Ohio State. Reports are that their owner talked to Urban Meyer for over an hour last night about Bosa. Bosa, a guy, I don't know if he's going to be as dominant as people say, but it definitely is a good situation for the San Diego Chargers. They needed help pretty much everywhere on defense. They didn't have much of a pass rush last year. So they get Joey Bosa at the 3rd overall pick. Bosa, a guy people thought might be the first overall pick, but there's been some character concerns. Obviously, he didn't run as well at the combine as people expected, but Joey Bosa is going to be one of the next great pass rushers, hopefully, in San Diego. So that's another guy we're going to have to keep an eye on. And then the Dallas Cowboys, what were they going to do? Were they going to go quarterback? Were they going to go with a defensive stud in Jalen Ramsey? Or were they going to take the flashy running back? And guess what they did? Typical Jerry Jones fashion, they went with a flashy running back. Ezekiel Elliott is now wearing the Dallas Cowboys star. Obviously, the best running back in this class has pretty much no injury concern. So definitely something when you look at Darren McFadden or Alfred Morris, that was something that they had with those guys So Ezekiel Elliott going to the Dallas Cowboys is going to be scaring Philadelphia, New York, and Washington for years to come. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars get very lucky with the 5th overall pick. Jalen Ramsey, another hometown guy, goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This guy, he's probably going to play corner, could have played safety, but Jalen Ramsey, one of the best talents in this draft, falls to 5, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are very happy to snap him up. And then this is where it got interesting. With the Laramie Tunsil situation, the Baltimore Ravens were up, and they went with Ronnie Stanley, a guy who I'm not as big of a fan of, but the offensive tackle from Notre Dame goes 6th overall. There was some hype about him leading up to tonight, maybe some smoke screens. People said maybe San Diego would take him. But with the Laramie Tunsil situation, the Baltimore Ravens need to protect Joe Flacco coming off of that ACL injury. So what do? They take the best available offensive lineman with pretty much no off-the-field issues in Ronnie Stanley. So, again, the Tunsil situation changes the course of a franchise where Baltimore, they could have had Tunsil if he had just fallen there naturally. But because of those pictures, because of the Twitter account, John Gruden pretty much ripped social media tonight after watching what was happening to a really good player in Laramie Tunsil. So Baltimore gets a new franchise offensive tackle to protect Joe Flacco. He'll probably be replacing Ricky Wagner or James Hurst. Either one of those guys will probably be replaced by Ronnie Stanley, who will start for them in week 1. 7th overall pick, Chip Kelly. Not a very surprising pick. He goes with the Oregon guy, DeForest Buckner, the pass rusher, again from the Oregon Ducks, Chip Kelly's former team. And this is a guy, DeForest Buckner, that I really like. I like him more than Joey Bosa. I think he's going to be a better, more polished pass rusher. I think he's going to be more physical than Bosa. So, obviously, the 49ers lost a lot of guys on defense to early retirement and to injury. So, Chip Kelly, you usually think of offense when you think of Chip Kelly, but he goes, again, gets another Oregon Duck, and he's going to have a pretty good edge rusher or defensive lineman in DeForest Buckner. Now at 8, that was the Cleveland Browns, but they traded down again. And the Tennessee Titans, former owners of a 1st overall pick, they trade back up to 8. And you think maybe Laramie Tunsil's going there, a guy who was supposed to be the 1st overall pick that the Titans were destined to take. They trade down, they get a loot of picks, and they get him at 8. No, they go with Jack Conklin, offensive tackle from Michigan State. Conklin, the guy I think may have to develop a little bit if he's going to protect a guy like Marcus Mariota who's going to be running around a lot. Obviously, Conklin more used to protecting Connor Cook, more of a pocket quarterback. So we'll have to see if Conklin can sort of go into Tennessee and change that offensive scheme. Next, the Bears trade up above the New York Giants, and they get Leonard Floyd, the linebacker out of Georgia. I love this pick. He's going to play with Danny Trevathan and all the other guys, but Chicago went out and got this offseason. Leonard Floyd's going to be a very good player with the Chicago Bears going forward. And then the New York Giants with the 10th overall pick. They were probably watching for Ezekiel Elliott. They're probably looking at an offensive lineman, or they are looking at Leonard Floyd. So what do? They go with Eli Apple. Eli Apple going to the Big Apple, the cornerback from Ohio State. He has good size, better size than Vernon Hargreaves. Hargreaves, people thought was the best pure cornerback in this draft, but Hargreaves at 5'10", probably not the kind of guy you want matched up against a 6'2" Dez Bryant or 6'4" Jordan Matthews. So the New York Giants, with the 10th overall pick, go with the 6'1" cornerback Eli Apple out of Ohio State. And right after that, just as you say his name, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they traded down, and they still get their guy, Vernon Hargreaves, with the 11th overall pick, a Florida guy, staying in the state. He's going to be a very good ball hawk for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they continue to rebuild him and Jameis Winston, back-to-back players out of the state of Florida. New Orleans Saints, people thought maybe a quarterback develop with Drew Brees, forget about Garrett. Forget about Grayson from last year, but they go with Sheldon Rankins, defensive lineman out of Clemson. I think they needed to continue to bolster that front seven. They obviously went with Stephon Anthony from Clemson last year. They also got Hiloi Kikaha a little bit later in the draft to play linebacker. So continuing to build up that defense in New Orleans. And then with the 13th overall pick, after trading out with Philadelphia, the Miami Dolphins get the best player in the draft from an on-the-field perspective in Laramie Tunsil. So what's he going to be doing? He's going to be protecting Ryan Tannehill, hopefully for years to come, because Tannehill, people had a lot of hope in, and obviously got a huge contract last year. So hopefully if the off-the-field stuff with Tunsil can sort of, cool down just a little bit. There were some concerns about marijuana, also him taking money from a coach because he needed to pay his rent. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But Oakland Raiders with the 14th overall pick, people thought definitely take a defensive back, but not this guy, Carl Joseph out of West Virginia, a guy